Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Parkinson's, online event brought to you by Parkinson's Community Los Angeles. Today, we've got a great topic for you. We're talking about, do we have, there we go. Thank you. Today, we've got a great topic for you. We're talking about the ideal diet for Parkinson's disease with registered dietitian Jelena from Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. Excuse me, I'm Patrick Lasasso, president of PCLA. For those of you who don't know us, we are a Los Angeles-based nonprofit, and we've been serving an international audience through our free online educational events, just like this one, support groups, information and referral program, and more. This series is brought to you by our terrific Let's Talk Parkinson sponsors, Abbott, AbbVie, Boston Scientific, Medtronic, and Synovian. So thank you. Before we dive in, let's quickly review a few rules. Please stay muted during the presentation. We'll have time for questions at the end. You can optimally submit them into the chat. And if typing is difficult for you, we'll ask for spoken questions from the audience at the end, and you're just going to unmute yourself and ask a question, and we'll give you a cue for that. Please, very important, keep your questions on topic and succinct. We always seem to be short on time, but we'll try to get to all of your questions. So as I said, our speaker today is Jelena. Jelena is a registered dietitian who received her bachelor's degree and master's degree in nutritional science. As a part of her graduate studies research, she developed a therapeutic cookbook for individuals with Parkinson's. Inspired by the experience of having a loved one with Parkinson's, Jelena became impassioned with discovering ways to use her knowledge of nutritional science as a natural solution to managing the symptoms. She is determined to continue researching and developing nutrition strategies for the management of Parkinson's disease and other neurodegenerative conditions. Now, if you enjoy this presentation, please feel free to go to PCLA.org and make a contribution and a donation. We're a nonprofit, so everything is tax deductible, and we're able to do these types of events because of people like you. So thank you, Jelena, for joining our community today.
Thank you, and I'm so excited to be here because this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. As Patrick already did a very good job of introducing me, I'll just move into the slide with my credentials. So as I said, Patrick already did a very good job of sharing this information with you guys, but just to reiterate, I am a registered dietitian. I currently work in the clinical setting at Cedars-Sinai, as well as private practice nutrition counseling. I received both my bachelor's and master's degrees in nutritional science, and I've published research in Parkinson's and nutrition. So my experience with Parkinson's disease started when my father was diagnosed in 2016. At this time, I became his primary caregiver and was responsible for managing doctor's visits, medication, nutrition, provided emotional support, physical support. I really held his hand through the entire process. And during that experience, I discovered the experience that people who are living with Parkinson's encounter and the array of symptoms that are associated with Parkinson's disease. Some examples of that would be constipation, depression, sleep disturbances, muscle aches, confusion, anxiety, and many more symptoms. So this provoked me to start researching Parkinson's disease and how to use my area of expertise, nutrition, to manage the array of symptoms that my father was experiencing. And throughout this time, I developed dietary and supplement protocols to help improve my father's symptoms and quality of life. So during my master's degree, for my directed project, I chose to create a cookbook for individuals with Parkinson's disease with emphasis on dietary and antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids. So the purpose of developing a cookbook was being my father's caregiver. I knew that both people living with Parkinson's and their caregivers needed a practical tool. There's lots of information out there, but people really benefit from having a practical tool that they can use day. And since so much of the care that was provided for my father was through nutrition and cooking meals for him, I decided to create a cookbook. So the purpose of the cookbook was to create a practical tool for individuals with Parkinson's disease that include recipes that are rich in antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids to combat oxidative stress and neuroinflammation in Parkinson's disease. So when it comes down to what exactly causes Parkinson's disease, we don't have a definitive answer. There are a lot of proposed theories about the mechanisms behind disease progression. Some of the reoccurring themes, which I've highlighted here in yellow, are neuroinflammation and oxidative stress, which leads to the generation of reactive oxygen species, mitochondrial dysfunction, lipid peroxidation, and all of those processes drive the force of neuron degradation, which is nerve cell death. So the theory behind my cookbook is that the accumulating evidence of the scientific literature suggests that oxidative stress, which is cellular damage, and neuroinflammation, which is inflammation of the nervous system, are associated with the progression of dopaminergic neuron loss, which is dopamine producing cells in Parkinson's. So in short, these processes that are believed to be behind Parkinson's progression may be able to be controlled through dietary approaches. Now, the dietary approaches that I chose for my cookbook were antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids. And the purpose for this is that antioxidants, which are compounds that are found naturally in plant-based foods, are known to mitigate or reduce the effects of oxidative stress. And omega-3 fatty acids, which are essential fatty acids, are involved in regulating the body's inflammatory process and act as anti-inflammatory agents, which can reduce the effect of neuroinflammation. So the theory is that increasing the consumption of antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids can have a therapeutic effect on minimizing oxidative stress and neuroinflammation in Parkinson's disease. So for the ideal Parkinson's diet, our number one thing is going to be increasing the intakes of antioxidants. So antioxidants protect our cells, including our nerve cells, from damage. Examples of antioxidants that are found in foods include vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C, glutathione, coenzyme Q10. Antioxidants are primarily found in plant-based food sources, so fruits, vegetables, herbs, spices, some functional foods such as green tea, cacao. Plant-based foods also have compounds called phytochemicals. You can think of phytochemicals as being the rich pigments that we see in foods, so the dark purple color in berries, or the dark red color in cherries, or that very rich yellow color in turmeric. Those are phytochemicals, and those also protect our cells. Again, examples of phytochemicals would include curcuminoids, which are found in turmeric, resveratrol, which is found in red grapes or wine, flavonoids, which are found in tea. And some tips to increase your consumption of antioxidants. Berries are my favorite. I think that just eating a lot of berries every day is so beneficial. So blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, cherries, blackberries. Some tips on how you can increase your intakes of these foods would be add them to your cereals, oatmeal, yogurt, baked goods like a berry cobbler, blueberry muffins, blend them into smoothies, make jams or buy whole fruit based jams. Cruciferous vegetables, which include broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, consuming these regularly by adding them to eggs, soups, blended soups, casseroles, stir fries, pasta dishes, and then cooking with lots of spices such as turmeric, cinnamon, ginger, and then some tips on that would be, again, add it to your oatmeal, your cereal, coffee, desserts, soups, marinades. The goal with this is to find out how you can add antioxidants to each meal, whether it be adding cruciferous vegetables to your eggs in the morning, adding berries to your yogurt as a snack, adding turmeric to a soup recipe that you make. You're gonna wanna purchase antioxidant-rich foods and find different ways to incorporate that into your diet daily. And make it enjoyable. Like I said, make a berry cobbler, something that you will enjoy that's nutrient rich. So here's a little snapshot of a recipe that you'll find in my cookbook. And this is a sweet potato stew that is rich in antioxidants, fibers, and phytochemicals. And you guys will have access to this, so you don't have to like memorize the recipe or take a screenshot. Here's another example of an antioxidant omega-3 rich recipe, a chia seed jam that you can have with toast. And then our second goal is to increase our intake of healthy fats. One of the most beneficial fats for us is going to be omega-3 fatty acids. So omega-3 fatty acids are considered essential fatty acids. And the reason they're considered essential is because they must be consumed through our diet. And they're an essential part of our body's inflammatory process and act as an anti-inflammatory agent. So as I mentioned previously, neuroinflammation is another term for inflammation of the nervous system, which again is believed to be behind the mechanisms that drive Parkinson's progression. So our goal is to minimize inflammation, and omega-3s are anti-inflammatory, so they help mitigate the effects of inflammation. So some food sources of omega-3 fatty acids will include fatty fish, such as salmon, mackerel, sardines, nuts, primarily walnuts, seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, and pumpkin seeds, and then soybeans and Brussels sprouts. You can also get omega-3 fatty acids through supplements, such as fish oil supplements, or if you're plant-based, you can take flaxseed oil, algae oil. If you're not taking an omega-3 supplement daily, that's definitely a supplement that I would recommend adding to your regimen, just to make sure that you're getting those anti-inflammatory oils. Of course, it's always best to consume your nutrients through food, but supplements are a great option just to ensure that you're meeting your daily needs of that nutrient if you don't get it through your diet. Here's another just picture depiction of foods that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. So as I mentioned, fatty fish such as salmon, herring, cod, seeds such as flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, nuts such as walnuts. So again, these are foods that you want to be staples in your diet. Find out ways to eat salmon once or twice a week. Find out recipes that you can add flax seeds to, or pumpkin seeds, or walnuts. Okay, and then kind of reiterating what I just said, tips to increase consumption of omega-3 fatty acids. I recommend that you eat salmon, if you like it, 1 to 2 times a week. You can have grilled or baked salmon, salmon patties, salmon salad. Add walnuts to baked goods, so in cookies or muffins or banana nut bread, you can add walnuts to it. Add walnuts to your oatmeal and cereals and your salads. Chia seeds and flax seeds you can add to oatmeal, smoothies, baked goods. If you have chia seed pudding yet, you have to make it. It is very, very easy to make and very tasty. You can top it with berries, and it's a yummy, nutritious dessert option. And then, like I mentioned before, you can take a fish oil or plant-based omega-3 supplement. Other healthy fats that don't necessarily fall into the omega-3 category, but are also beneficial for your health and your brain health include olive oil. I would say that olive oil is probably the best oil to use for cooking, olive oil and avocado oil. If you're currently using something like basic vegetable oil or canola oil, I would definitely make
that one goes here.
I would definitely make the recommendation to swap that out for olive oil. It's just a heart healthy oil that's better for you than vegetable oil or canola oil. Avocados, you can cook with avocado oil. You can add avocados to avocado toast, make guacamole, add it to sandwiches and salads. Coconut oil kind of tastes coconutty. So I'm kind of particular about what I add that to. It works really well in baked goods. So you can actually swap out the fat that is called for in the recipe for coconut oil. Nuts, like nut butters, like almond butter, which you can eat with toast or a sandwich or add on top of a dessert or an oatmeal. And then eggs are also another source of healthy fats. Okay, our third goal is to remember that nutrition is meant to nourish you and not deplete you. So what I mean by that is that the foods that you eat should provide your body with nourishment. When you're choosing foods at the grocery store, when you're thinking about meal ideas, you should think about, does this food provide me with nourishment? Does it provide my body with the energy that's needed to fuel my daily activities, which we get from carbohydrates? Repair tissue and cells, which we get from protein. Maintain muscle mass, protein. Protecting our organs, which fats help us do. Maintaining a healthy weight by eating balanced meals. Supporting our immune system and healing, which we get a lot of help from vitamins and minerals. Now, we do not encourage restrictive dieting or fad dieting, especially for the Parkinson's patients. So what I mean by restrictive dieting and fad dieting is we do not encourage diets such as keto or really restrictive diets that are cutting out food groups, cutting out certain nutrients. The important thing is that we're liberalizing the diet and our mindset is more focused on what foods can we add to make more nutritious, not what can we cut out, if that makes sense. And the reason for that is that when we cut out major food groups or make the diet very restrictive, it leads to people not enjoying their food. And enjoying your food is a big part of your quality of life and feeling good. You can still lead a healthy life and eat nutritious foods and enjoy the foods that you eat. Another part of restrictive dieting is it can lead to weight loss and malnutrition or vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And we don't need to add that to the list of problems. Our goal is to have healthy weight maintenance and be well nourished. So again, shifting your mindset from, because restrictive dieting gets drilled into our mindset. We live in a society where diet culture is real. We're now shifting our mindset to nourishing our body with whole foods, balanced meals, eating throughout the day, eating foods that are satiating and that we enjoy. We'd like to choose organic foods as much as possible. Sometimes that's not an option for everybody. It may be the stores that they shop at don't carry many organic foods, or it may be, and economic thing, but when you do have the luxury or option to choose organic foods, the benefit of choosing organic foods is that you're minimizing your exposure to harmful toxins. So a lot of conventional farming and agriculture rely heavily on pesticides, herbicides, genetically modified organisms, antibiotics, synthetic hormones. So another theory behind Parkinson's disease cause is exposure to environmental toxins. And so our goal is to minimize the exposure of harmful toxins by eating as much organic food as we can. So this includes choosing organic produce when you're in the produce section. And this also includes choosing organic animal products such as grass-fed, organic pasture-raised eggs, organic milk and milk products, wild-caught seafood, organic hormone-free poultry. And the reason for this is you can kind of think of it as you inherit the diet of the animal that you ate. So if you're eating beef that came from a cow who was able to eat grass versus a cow who was eating corn feed, the cow that ate the grass has more nutrition than the cow that ate the corn feed. So essentially, when you're choosing these animal products, such as wild-caught salmon versus farm-raised, you're optimizing your nutrition by choosing the organic wild-caught option versus the conventionally farmed animal, if that makes sense. And these are two pictures of the labels that you'll want to look for. So there's the USDA organic seal and then the non-GMO project. If you're unsure about whether the food that you're choosing is organic, most of the time it'll have these two labels on them to show you that it's organic and GMO free. Another part of getting nourishment from food is eating balanced meals throughout the day. So when I say a balanced meal, I mean a meal that includes protein, carbohydrates, and fat. And this picture description here kind of gives you an idea of how you should organize your meals to optimize your nutrition. So your plate should be made up of, half of your plate should be made up of fresh fruits and vegetables. A quarter of your plate should be made up of a protein source, whether that be eggs, fish, tofu, beans, beef, and then another quarter of your plate should be made up of whole grains. So brown rice, quinoa, whole wheat pasta, whole wheat bread, and then you can have a serving of dairy, or if you don't do dairy, then a healthy fat or soy milk if you're plant-based. And it is encouraged for the Parkinson's patient that you do not skip meals throughout the day. So it's very, very important that the Parkinson's patient is consuming breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks in between, and to not go longer than 4 hours between meal times. You want to start your morning with a nourishing breakfast within the first 60 minutes of waking up, and start hydrating the moment that you wake up. So within the first hour of waking up, you should start drinking water and you should have breakfast to start your day off on the right foot and give you the energy that you need to start your day off right. So again, no skipping meals, eating balanced meals that have protein, carbohydrates, and fat, and not going longer than 4 hours between meal times. I personally can't go longer than like an hour or two before my next meal. Okay, so now we'll get in a little bit more to managing Parkinson's related symptoms. So as I mentioned earlier, in the case of my father, it really felt like we were constantly juggling how to manage all the different symptoms that were associated with his Parkinson's disease. And Parkinson's disease is very individualized. So like no one shoe fits all. the way one person experiences it, somebody else may experience it very differently. The complications one person has may be different from the complications someone else has. So there's definitely a lot to discuss when it comes to symptom management. And I feel like that is one of the hardest parts about living with Parkinson's is there's so many different things that you experience that are associated with the disease. So some of the ones that were very common in my father's case were constipation. That was a regular issue that we had to try to find a solution for. Muscle pain and aching, like muscle tenseness. That was another thing. Sleep disturbances, so insomnia or just not having a regular sleep cycle. Depression, anxiety, mood disturbances, memory loss. The list really goes on. So our goal with nutrition is to find ways that we can control those symptoms through diet. And possibly reduce the amount of medications we're taking. So in the case of my father, our goal was that he wasn't taking medication for sleeping, medication for constipation, medication for depression. It was just, we were trying to figure out what can we do with diet, and then whatever we can't do with diet, there's medicine available for that. So that was our goal. So a common question that patients living with Parkinson's have is how to manage their medication around meal times. So I kind of wanted to just explain why that's even a thing, or explain how the medication works, the relationship with diet, just so it makes more sense for anybody who doesn't quite understand that relationship. So levodopa, which is also known as Sinemet, is the most common drug to treat Parkinson's disease. And the way that this drug works is it works by addressing the inadequate supply of the neurotransmitter dopamine in the brain, because essentially Parkinson's is characterized by the lack of dopamine. And the lack of dopamine has the effects of all of the symptoms that they experience. So the way that Sinemet works is it provides our body with a precursor to dopamine, as well as carbidopa, which is a compound that prevents the breakdown of levodopa before reaching the brain. Because the goal is to get the dopamine up past the blood-brain barrier and supply dopamine to the brain, so the individual with Parkinson's can function optimally with enough dopamine. So dopamine is actually a neurotransmitter that's in our body naturally. It's made up of protein building blocks, which are called amino acids. And those specific amino acids are tyrosine and phenylalanine. And the theory is that amino acids compete for absorption with other proteins. So the reason why it is recommended that you take your Sinemet away from protein containing meals is to maximize the absorption. So taking levodopa with a high protein meal may reduce how much of the drug gets absorbed into your system and how well the dose works. So essentially, you could still take your Sinemet medication with a protein meal. It just, you might not get the best absorption out of the medication because of the theory that amino acids compete for absorption. So if you're taking your Sinemet, which contains amino acids, with a protein meal, then in your digestion, they're competing for absorption, and less of that dopamine might get up to your brain. So when I say high protein, I'm referring to meats, fish, eggs, and poultry. So not all foods. That's the good thing, is you can still eat with your medication, just it's the high protein meals specifically. So how to plan taking your Parkinson's medication around meals. It's recommended that you take your Cinemet either 45 minutes before or 1 hour after a high protein meal, but preferably after. So you would have your high protein meal, let's say your breakfast, which has eggs in it. And then 1 hour after that, you would take your Cinemet. Or your lunch contains a protein like chicken. 1 hour after that, you would take your Cinemet. You could also plan to consume carbohydrates and fats, non-protein foods around your medication. So nobody really likes taking medication on an empty stomach. Like usually you want a little something. So you can have some fruit, for example. You can have a banana with your medication. You can have whole grains. So you can have like a rice cake, a piece of toast, a muffin. You can have fats like avocado toast, olives, chia seed pudding. It's really the protein that you need to plan accordingly with your medication. So hopefully that cleared the air or any confusion around the whole planning your meal time around your Parkinson. Another common symptom is constipation. So constipation, your best friends for preventing constipation are going to be fiber and water. You have to consume an adequate amount of water with a high fiber diet. So some fiber containing foods are whole grains, so brown rice, whole wheat pasta, quinoa, oats. So if you're used to buying or eating refined grains such as white rice, white pasta, white bread, you should swap it out for the whole grain option. So whole grain tortillas, brown rice, whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta, because those have the fiber intact. That's why they're brown. Fresh fruit with the skin on it, because the skin is the fiber containing. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and chard, and then seeds like flax seeds and chia seeds. So you really should be incorporating fiber into your meals daily to be getting the daily recommended amount. And then also consuming fats. So fats kind of act as a lubricant. I know that's kind of like a weird way to think about it, but consuming enough fat in the body kind of just helps things flow easier. And then staying hydrated. For some reason, getting people to drink enough water is difficult. I feel like sometimes it's more difficult than trying to get them to eat a certain way. So most people think like they drink enough water, but chances are they don't. If you're constipated, chances are you're not drinking enough water. And it's hard to kind of give you guys a concrete like recommended amount of water daily because different people have different fluid needs. But I would probably say like no less than 1 liter or 2 of water a day, unless you have chronic kidney disease or any underlying kidney issues, then your water needs may be less than that. But for the general population, no less than 1 liter or 2 of water a day. Also, physical activity and daily movement. So if you're sedentary, if you're able to move around, if you're not able to move around, that's one thing. But if you're able to move around, then physical activity is also very, very beneficial in getting things moving and keeping the GI tract motility going. And then you could also resort to supplements and medications. So magnesium citrate is a very, very effective option for constipation. It helps with muscle control. And so can senna. You can also get stool softeners from your doctor, or you can take fiber supplements such as Metamucil. Preventing weight loss and regaining weight. So this may not be like a common complication, but this can be something that happens. Oh, somebody's unmuted. This can be something that happens maybe in more advanced stages of Parkinson's, or people of advanced age may experience weight loss more commonly. So our goals for preventing weight loss or regaining weight that has been lost is to not restrict the diet. So our goal is to liberalize the diet and allow foods that sound appetizing. So let's say the case is that you are underweight, or you're a caregiver and you're caring for somebody who is underweight. If they're underweight, the most important thing is regaining their weight. So when I say liberalize the diet and allow foods that sound appetizing, if they want ice cream or cookies or something that generally maybe isn't the most nutritious option, but that's what sounds appetizing to them and that's what they want to eat, then we prioritize them getting the calories that they need to prevent further weight loss before we prioritize restricting their diet, if that makes sense. We also want to add calories to their meals. So some ways that we can do that to optimize the amount of calories that they're getting in to support weight gain would be adding a whole banana and 2 tablespoons of peanut butter to smoothies and oatmeal, consuming full fat dairy, adding more fats to the diet. So cooking with more olive oil maybe than you would typically need, adding more butter to something that will just add an additional amount of calories, avocado, coconut oil, cheese. So an example of a high calorie, high fat recipe for somebody who's experiencing weight loss or needs to regain weight would be a milkshake made with whole milk, 1 frozen banana, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, and 1 scoop of protein. And then that way, if it's somebody who doesn't eat very much, then within that 1 milkshake, you've loaded them up with protein and calories. So if all they can consume is a little bit of food throughout the day because their appetite is low, then the goal is to make whatever it is that you're eating as calorie dense as possible so that you don't lose any more weight. There's also nutrition supplements, so protein shakes and high calorie shakes that you can buy at the store. So if you either can't make milkshakes or smoothies at home, or you something that's convenient, there's supplements such as Ensure or Gain or Boost. Those are examples. You can find them at like Walmart or CVS or grocery stores. In more serious cases where somebody has just complete lack of appetite for a prolonged period of time, and poor eating, then at that point you'd like to consult your doctor for an appetite stimulant. It's just good to know that that option is out there for anybody that is experiencing lack of appetite or concerned about being underweight. There are options for medications that help stimulate your appetite. Another symptom would be muscle aches and cramping. So magnesium and minerals are your best friends when it comes to muscle tenseness, cramping. Magnesium just has infinite amount of benefits in the body, not just muscle cramping and aches, but also anxiety, stress relief, insomnia. So in addition to taking a fish oil or omega-3 supplement, I also recommend taking a magnesium supplement. Magnesium and minerals are going to be a very great option for combating any muscle cramping, muscle aches and pain that you have. I mentioned previously that I recommended supplementing fish oil or omega-3. I also recommend supplementing magnesium. There's lots of different types of magnesium on the market. I think that magnesium citrate is the most effective for constipation. One of the supplements that I really like that is, I think it's nice if you're kind of tired of taking pills and don't want another pill to take. It's called Calm, like to be calm. And it's sold in a canister, and it's a magnesium citrate powder, and they have different flavors like lemon, raspberry, berry, lemonade, and you actually just take a scoop and mix it into water, and it tastes pretty good. So if you just don't want to add another pill to your regimen, then I really like the magnesium supplement Calm. Other minerals that will help you out is taking a multi-mineral supplement. So something that has potassium, magnesium, calcium, also electrolytes. So you can get electrolytes through food like bananas, or electrolyte infused waters, Gatorade, coconut water, also adequate hydration. So dehydration can cause muscle cramping. So just another reason for you to intake more water throughout the day. And then also massage. If you can massage yourself, or your caregiver can give you a massage, or you can go treat yourself to getting a nice massage, then that will also help alleviate a lot of the muscle cramping. And you can try different pain relief ointments such as arnica gel, magnesium lotion, or CBD creams. You can take Epsom salt baths, and then also elevate your legs just to get good circulation. So like when you're laying on the couch, you can stack some pillows, or when you're laying on you can stack some pillows to elevate your legs. So those are my recommendations for any muscle cramping. And then
Dad has Parkinson's for the last 4 years, and within that time, he has lost 40 pounds. He eats well. What can we do to help him gain the weight?
Okay, perfect. Am I still sharing my screen?
We can arrange that, I'm sure.
Let's just go back to, I'm gonna go back to the slide on weight maintenance, just in case somebody wanted to take some notes. I think I get nervous when I present and probably talk a little fast too. So I'll just pull this slide up so that anybody can take notes while we talk about it. So I'm so glad that I covered it, because apparently, sorry, my phone is ringing. I'm like, I'm in a presentation right now. So I'm so glad that we covered it, because severe forms of weight loss can lead to malnutrition, and that just sets somebody up for having a harder time.
Jelena, we've lost your audio again.
Nutrition. No.
You're back.
You're back.
Okay. I was like, oh no, I am so sorry. Of course, this never happens until the day that I'm giving an important presentation. Okay, let me go back to the weight maintenance. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, so when it comes to weight loss, the big risk about losing too much weight is it can set somebody up for malnutrition. And malnutrition just makes it harder to recover from the other complications that are associated with Parkinson's disease. So maintaining a healthy weight is definitely very, very important for having less severe complications associated with your Parkinson's disease. So like I mentioned, if it's to the point where there's some people just experience a serious lack of appetite. That's what I deal with the most in the clinical setting when I'm working with patients who are in the hospital, not just Parkinson's patients, but other patients is they just don't have an appetite. It doesn't matter how I try to liberalize their diets, what foods I try to send them, how we try to encourage eating, it's just a lack of appetite. So if it's the case where you're not eating or your loved one is just not eating, then that's when I would suggest speaking with the doctor about options for an appetite stimulant. An appetite stimulant might not be right for everybody. It's really just something that helps give you the sensation of an appetite, and it can be very effective. So in those more serious cases where you're very underweight and don't have an appetite, then that is a case where I would suggest that you talk to your doctor and let them know that you're interested in taking an appetite stimulant. Also adding calories to your meals. So I mentioned getting nutrition supplements, so high protein shakes and high calorie shakes. For convenience, just to have them on hand at the house, you can buy a box of supplements such as Ensure, Orgain, Boost. Those are just some common names of the supplements that they sell at the store. And you can have those on hand at home when you just want to add more calories or more protein to your day. You'll have one of those drinks on hand, so you can eat your meal and then drink the supplement, so you're getting extra calories and protein. And then also adding more fat, adding more carbohydrates. Like I said, if ice cream is what sounds good to you, then eat ice cream. If a croissant a buttery croissant with butter and chocolate sounds good to you, then eat that. The important thing is that you don't lose any more weight. So find ways to add more calories to your diet. If all of that makes sense as far as weight gain goes.
I am sure this is music to many people's ears, what you're saying. My husband has type 2 diabetes as well as Parkinson's. Now, this is a question that addresses your cookbook as well, and I thought you could touch on that. Does your cookbook also address diabetic restrictions?
Yeah, so my cookbook does not address diabetic restrictions. For the patient that is living with Parkinson's disease and diabetes, then you would still want to follow your diabetic diet guidelines. So that includes carbohydrate counting, balanced meals. So the information that would be more pertinent to the person with diabetes and Parkinson's would be this slide here where I talk about balanced meals. So if you're trying to control your blood sugar, then you should not eat carbohydrates by themselves. You should eat a balanced meal that contains carbohydrates with protein and fat. And that'll lead to better blood sugar management. You also shouldn't skip meals. So you would still follow the diabetic diet guidelines while managing your Parkinson's disease. My cookbook particularly doesn't focus on blood sugar control. There's also a lot of fruit and plant-based foods in my cookbook. So it might actually be a little bit high in carbohydrates, but there may be some recipes that are more appropriate for diabetes, but it wasn't included in my cookbook.
Okay, and just briefly discuss when your cookbook is going to be available and how we can all get it when it's available.
Sure. So I will share with Sarah, who will email you guys, a link to the research that I published in Parkinson's. And if you scroll through my research report, because I don't expect you to read all that, if you scroll down to the bottom in the appendices, there is a draft of my cookbook. So there are already recipes. It's practically my full cookbook, but it's the unedited, unpublished version of my cookbook. So as far as getting the complete cookbook, I'm in the process and editing and just kind of revising recipes and changing things around. So that'll probably be ready in the next 2 months, maybe. If everything kind of goes smoothly and if I stay focused, it'll probably be ready in the next 2 months. And then I will just continue to keep Sarah updated in the loop so that she can share that with you guys as soon as it's available.
Okay, great. And so for the audience here, Jelena and PCLA, we're going to keep in touch with her, and we will make all of this content available to you. I believe you're going to share this PowerPoint as well, so you don't have to frantically take notes. So let's move forward some more questions. My husband has, any experience working with people with restless leg syndrome? Any specific recommendations?
Yeah, so my dad dealt with restless leg syndrome. His legs were always restless, always cramping, always bothering him. And I think that some of the tips that I provided on the muscle cramping and aches would be really beneficial to the person who experiences restless leg syndrome. So I think that 100% you should be taking magnesium and minerals. That should be a part of your daily routine, is taking a magnesium supplement and a multi-mineral complex. And then I also think that you would benefit from elevating your legs and either doing an Epsom salt bath a couple times a week or soaking your legs and your feet in Epsom salt and benefiting from some form of massage therapy. So like I said, if you're able to give yourself a massage on your legs, or if you have a loved one that can give you a massage, or you can go treat yourself to a massage a couple of times a month, and then use some type of pain relief gel like arnica or magnesium lotion or CBD creams. I think that that would also offer you a lot of relief with the pain and discomfort associated with restless leg syndrome.
Great. Jelena, here's a common question that I hear all the time. Any suggestions on diet for sleep issues, insomnia in particular?
Yeah. Let me think. I think that most of it would come from, there's more supplements that can help you. I think that if you're eating balanced meals and you're following the guidelines that I've already talked about, then the other recommendations I would give in addition to that is obviously caffeine. That's kind of like a no-brainer, is like limiting your intake of caffeine after a certain point. Also, doing things to prepare yourself for sleep a couple hours before you go to bed. So that would include trying to regulate your body's natural circadian rhythm by turning the lights in the house down low, not looking at a computer screen, phone screen, or television screen after a certain time. Just calming yourself down, like that hour or two before it's time to go to bed. That's your time to dim the lights, turn off the screens, sit and meditate, relax, prepare yourself and prepare your body for that natural circadian rhythm. I also think that you can take the magnesium supplements towards the end of the day, and that'll also help you relax. There are other supplements that, sleep supplements are kind of iffy because some people, it can have the opposite effect and keep them up, like melatonin. Melatonin works opposite for my dad. We gave him melatonin a couple times and he was like wide awake. But for some people, certain supplements like melatonin can help you go to sleep. I'm trying to think of other things that can help improve insomnia. Yeah, I think it's going to come down to
exercise.
Exercise as well. Just kind of, yeah, doing those things to set you up for that bedtime, dedicating the last couple hours of your day to preparing you for bedtime. I know that sounds a little excessive, but if that's what it takes to get your circadian rhythm back in balance, then exercising, dimming the lights, turning off the screens, taking magnesium. You can drink chamomile tea, try different sleep supplements like melatonin. It may or may not work for you. Sometimes you have to experiment with a couple different ones to see which one works for you.
That's great. Because a lot of us, sleep was a no-brainer. And what we realize is the stuff that you just mentioned is really becoming proactive in managing the sleep. Those strategies we really need to think of. This is great. So we're going to run a little over. We're going to go until 10 after to try to cram a few more questions. And thank you everyone for your participation. And just a reminder, if you enjoy this presentation, you want to help us continue our work, you can always visit PCLA.org and make a contribution. We have some questions about antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids. Do baked or cooked or jam berries still provide antioxidants, or are they better provided by fresh berries?
I think fresh berries are probably more antioxidant rich. Definitely certain nutrients can be deactivated through cooking, but it really depends on the nutrient that you're talking about. So for example, tomatoes, the lycopene, which is a phytochemical in tomatoes, is actually more effective in cooked tomatoes. So certain fruits and vegetables kind of have different properties as far as like cooked versus fresh. But in most cases, when it comes to produce, fresh, raw, or even frozen is okay. It doesn't kill the nutrient or antioxidant. So I would say in most cases, fresh or frozen will have the highest level of antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals as opposed to cooked.
Great. Along the line,
there are certain cases where the cooked ones are more rich in those nutrients.
Okay, great. Along those lines, regarding fiber, do you lose fiber of fruit if you blend them in a smoothie?
No, the fiber will still be there. The important thing with fiber and fruit is that you leave the skin intact. So you don't want to have a peeled peach or peeled, I don't know who peels a peach, no offense if you do, but as I said that, I was like, do people even peel peaches? Or a peeled apple or peeled carrots. You want the skin intact. Skin has the fiber in it. So as long as you're blending up the fruit with the skin intact, you don't lose any fiber. And on the topic of smoothies, I think that I absolutely love the idea of using smoothies as a way to get all of your fruits and vegetables in, because seriously, like, who wants to eat a bunch of kale and stuff throughout the day when you can just blend it up into a tasty smoothie? So that's definitely a great way of getting your daily fiber in.
Great. So the question, I'm not a fan of the taste of turmeric. Would turmeric in a gel cap be a good idea?
Yeah, so turmeric does have a very pungent taste, and especially if you add too much to something, it's very overpowering. You could definitely take a turmeric supplement instead. When you're looking for a turmeric supplement, try to find one that has something in it called biopeperin, which is a black pepper extract, because that actually helps it absorb better. But turmeric supplements are a great option, and they're probably you probably have to consume a lot of the spiced turmeric to get the same amount that you would get by taking a turmeric capsule.
Is organic ghee considered a good source of omega-3?
I don't think it's a good source of omega-3. It probably has more omega-3 in it than just regular butter. But omega-3 is mostly going to come from fish oil, walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds. Ghee will still provide your body with healthy fat and healthy dairy, but I probably wouldn't put it in the category of high omega-3 fats.
Okay, sorry. Can you discuss what about basil seeds, and do flax seeds need to be ground?
I don't know much about basil seeds at all. Actually,
Okay, that's
like,
fine.
but yeah, I don't know much about basil seeds, so I'll have to look into that. But flax seeds, if you're going to get ground, if you're going to eat ground flax seeds, it's best to buy the flax seeds whole. And then if you have some type of grinder or food processor, then grind them before you're going to eat them. Because they're a fat, they can become oxidized. We don't need to get into like all of that, but it's more nutritious to buy the whole seed and then blend them up before you eat them, if that makes sense.
Okay, great. We're almost out of time here. We got time for a couple more. I have two conditions which demand opposite solutions. One wants to reduce fiber to 0, and the other requires a lot of fiber. Here's a good. How do I find a good solution?
Sure. So what I'm thinking of with the no fiber is that you probably may have like some particular GI issue. I don't know if I'm correct by saying that, but oh, that's a tough one. I mean, if the reducing fiber to 0 is a priority because you're dealing with some type of health complication that requires you to not have minimal fiber or no fiber at all, then I would definitely follow the advice of, I'm sure your doctor gave you. And then because I don't have the details of this, I'm assuming that when you say the opposite side requires you to have fiber, maybe just don't choose, maybe just stick to the fiber that you get naturally from fruits and vegetables, but then minimize your intake of like the bulky fibers like oats, seeds, whole grains, the fibers that are harder for the GI tract to digest, and just stick to the fibers that are found in fruits and vegetables. It's kind of hard to give you like a recommendation if I don't know exactly what's going on.
I think that we got a previous question, I think is probably the same person. My husband has had several bouts of diverticulitis and is supposed to avoid seeds and nuts. So what would be a good substitute for seeds and nuts? This is probably the core of that question.
Perfect. Yes. So, okay, that's a lot more helpful. And I was kind of thinking about, this was probably diverticulosis. So yes, definitely follow the guidelines that you're supposed to follow for your diverticulosis with no nuts and no seeds. And then to get the same fats that you would get from nuts and seeds, buy the oil. So instead of taking flax seeds, just buy flax oil or walnut oil or almond oil and add those to, you can add like a tablespoon of flaxseed oil to a smoothie, or if you can make homemade salad dressings and you can add flaxseed oil or almond oil. But that way you're still getting the fat that you would get from those nutrients, but you're not consuming the whole seed or the whole nut.
Great. And one last quick question. Can you repeat the additive to look for in the turmeric capsules?
Biopeperin. So I think this is how you spell it. BIOPEPRIN, biopeperin, something along those lines. Essentially, it's black pepper. So black pepper is known to increase the absorption of turmeric.
Okay. Well, thank you again. So this would be a great time if you enjoyed this presentation to help us continue our work. Just go on over to PCLA.org and make a donation if you are inclined. We love doing this work, and with the situation in the world today, we've kind of really enjoyed meeting people beyond our footprint here in Los Angeles, and we hope you enjoy this content. So please join us on August 19th for our next Let's Talk Parkinson's program. It's an interactive roundtable discussion featuring members of the Parkinson's community, sharing their experiences of life with Parkinson's. Tune in to learn from our panelists and ask questions, or even share your own story, and you can register for that one at PCLA.org. Let's Talk Parkinson's, again, is made possible by our sponsors, Abbott, AbbVie, Boston Scientific, Medtronic, Synovian, and by you. So by donating to PCLA today, you can help us in our mission to improve the lives of families and our community living with Parkinson's. We are a nonprofit, and all donations are tax deductible. So if you enjoyed today's Let's Talk Parkinson's, please consider donating at PCLA and help us continue our work. Let's put our hands together and give a virtual applause for Jelena. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. This was phenomenal. And you guys can reach, she put her contact information. Feel free to reach out directly to her, but you can always reach us with questions at info@pcla.org. That's info@pcla.org. Or you can reach us at our phone, and the phone, I'll read it off once here. Maybe Sarah can put it in the chat as well. 310-880-3143. Thank you to everyone. Stay safe. Stay well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Thanks, Jelena.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jelena.
Thank you. Okay, have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you for the extra time, too. We appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. It was very good. Thank you.